Hello, and welcome to this video, where we will explore some of the best Stoic quotes for enlightenment and how they can help us change our lives for the better. But before we dive into the quotes, let's first understand what Stoicism is and why it is relevant for us today. Stoicism is a school of philosophy that originated in ancient Greece and was later adopted and developed by the Romans. The main goal of Stoicism is to teach us how to live a virtuous, rational, and serene life, regardless of the external circumstances. Stoics believe that we can only control our own thoughts, actions, and reactions, and that we should focus on them, rather than on the things that are outside of our power, such as fame, fortune, or other people's opinions. Stoicism is based on four cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Wisdom is the ability to use reason and logic to understand the nature of things and to act accordingly. Courage is the ability to face and overcome difficulties, dangers, and fears without losing hope or confidence. Justice is the ability to treat others fairly and kindly, and to fulfill our duties and obligations to society. Temperance is the ability to moderate and balance our desires, emotions, and impulses, and to avoid excesses and vices. Stoicism is also based on three main disciplines: the discipline of desire, the discipline of action, and the discipline of assent. The discipline of desire is the practice of aligning our will with the natural order of things and accepting what we cannot change. The discipline of action is the practice of doing what is right and good and avoiding what is wrong and evil. The discipline of assent is the practice of judging things rationally and objectively and avoiding errors and biases. Stoicism is not a dogmatic or rigid system, but rather a flexible and practical guide that can help us cope with the challenges, difficulties, and uncertainties that we may face in life, and to cultivate a calm and rational mind. Stoicism is still a thriving philosophy today, and it has many followers and admirers from all walks of life. Some of the most famous modern Stoics include Nelson Mandela, Tom Brady, Ryan Holiday, and Tim Ferriss, to name only a few. Stoicism can also help us deal with the stress, anxiety, and depression that are common in our modern society, and that can affect our health, happiness, and well-being. In this video, we will look at some of the best Stoic quotes for enlightenment and how they can help us change our perspective, our attitude, and our behavior, and ultimately, our lives. These quotes come from various Stoic authors, such as Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and others. We will also explain the meaning and the context of each quote, and how we can apply it to our own situations and challenges. Let's begin. Quote 1. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. This quote is from Epictetus, who was a former slave who became one of the most influential Stoic philosophers. He wrote a book called Enchiridion, or the Manual for Living, which is a collection of his teachings and advice on how to live according to Stoicism. This quote reminds us that we cannot control the external events that happen to us, such as the weather, the economy, or the actions of others. These events are indifferent to us, and they do not have any inherent value or meaning. What matters is how we interpret and respond to these events, and how we let them affect our emotions and actions. We have the power to choose how we react to anything that happens to us, and we can use this power to our advantage. For example, if we lose our job, we can react in different ways. We can react with anger and blame our boss, our colleagues, or ourselves, and feel resentful and bitter. We can react with fear and worry about our future, our finances, or our security, and feel anxious and stressed. We can react with sadness and feel sorry for ourselves and lose hope and motivation. Or we can react with calmness and accept the situation as it is and look for the opportunities and the lessons that it offers us. We can react with courage and face the challenge with confidence and optimism and look for new possibilities and solutions. We can react with joy and feel grateful for the experience and the growth that it provides us, and look for new ways to express our talents and passions. The way we react to anything that happens to us determines how we feel, how we think, and how we act. It also determines the quality and the direction of our lives. By choosing to react in a positive and constructive way, we can turn any situation into an opportunity for improvement and happiness. But how can we choose how we react to anything that happens to us and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice awareness and observe our thoughts, feelings, and reactions without judging or identifying with them. We can also pause and take a moment to breathe before we react to anything that happens to us. We can also ask ourselves, is this event good or bad, or is it just indifferent? How do I want to react to it? What is the best way to react to it? Second, we can practice perspective and look at the situation from different angles and see the bigger picture. We can also ask ourselves, how important is this event in the long run? How will I feel about it in a week, a month, or a year? How would someone else react to it? How can I learn from it or benefit from it? Third, we can practice choice and decide how we want to react to the situation and what we want to do about it. We can also ask ourselves, what is in my control and what is not? What can I do with what I have where I am? What is the most virtuous and rational thing to do? By practicing these techniques, we can choose how we react to anything that happens to us and be more calm and resilient. Quote 2. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. This quote is from Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor and a Stoic philosopher. He wrote a personal diary, known as the Meditations, where he recorded his reflections and advice on how to live according to Stoicism. This quote reminds us that we should not see obstacles as problems or threats, but rather as opportunities or challenges. We should not avoid or complain about the difficulties that we face, but rather embrace and overcome them. We should also not let them stop or discourage us, but rather use them to propel and inspire us. We should also not try to change or remove them, but rather adapt and integrate them. For example, if we want to start a business, we may encounter many obstacles, such as lack of money, lack of skills, lack of customers, or lack of support. We can see these obstacles as reasons to give up, or as excuses to delay, or as sources of stress and frustration. Or we can see these obstacles as reasons to persist, or as incentives to learn, or as sources of creativity and innovation. We can also use these obstacles to test and improve our product, our service, or our strategy, and to find new ways to reach and satisfy our customers. The way we see obstacles determines how we deal with them, and how they affect our outcomes and our growth. By seeing obstacles as opportunities, we can turn any situation into an advantage and a benefit. But how can we see obstacles as opportunities and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice reframing and changing our perspective and attitude towards the obstacles that we face. We can ask ourselves, what is the opportunity or the benefit that this obstacle offers me? How can I use this obstacle to advance my action or my goal? How can this obstacle help me grow or improve? Second, we can practice action and doing something about the obstacles that we face, rather than avoiding or ignoring them. We can ask ourselves, what is the best thing that I can do right now to overcome or to use this obstacle? What is the next step that I can take to move forward or to make progress? What is the most effective and efficient way that I can deal with this obstacle? Third, we can practice resilience and bouncing back from the obstacles that we face, rather than letting them defeat or discourage us. We can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this obstacle or this failure? How can I improve or adjust my plan or my approach? How can I prevent or reduce the impact of this obstacle or this failure in the future? By practicing these techniques, we can see obstacles as opportunities and be more successful and adaptable. Quote 3. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus. This quote is from Epictetus, who was a former slave who became one of the most influential Stoic philosophers. He wrote a book called Enchiridion, or the Manual for Living, which is a collection of his teachings and advice on how to live according to Stoicism. This quote reminds us that we should not attach our happiness or our worth to the things that are outside of our control, such as fame, fortune, or other people's opinions. These things are not only indifferent to us, but they are also unpredictable, unreliable, and impermanent. They can change or disappear at any moment, and they can cause us more harm than good. By valuing these things, we give them power over us, and we lose our freedom and our peace of mind. Instead, we should value the things that are within our control, such as our thoughts, our actions, and our reactions. These things are not only essential to us, but they are also stable, reliable, and permanent. They can never be taken away from us, and they can only benefit us. By valuing these things, we take back our power, and we gain our freedom and our peace of mind. By valuing the things within our control, we can avoid being dependent, unhappy, or insecure, and we can cultivate a sense of independence, happiness, and confidence. But how can we value the things within our control and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice detachment and let go of our attachment and aversion to the things outside of our control. We can accept them as they are and enjoy them when we have them, but not cling to them or depend on them. We can also be prepared to lose them and not be afraid or sad when they are gone. We can also be indifferent to them and not let them affect our emotions or actions. Second, we can practice self-reliance and rely on ourselves and our own resources rather than on others or external factors. We can take responsibility for our own happiness and well-being and not expect or demand them from others. We can also take charge of our own goals and plans and not wait or depend on others to help us or approve us. We can also take care of our own needs and problems and not blame or rely on others to solve them for us. Third, we can practice self-improvement and improve ourselves and our own abilities rather than comparing ourselves to others or competing with them. We can set our own standards and ideals and strive to meet them or exceed them without being complacent or self-satisfied. We can also seek feedback, criticism, or advice from others and listen to them with an open mind and a willingness to learn. We can also read books, watch videos, or listen to podcasts that can teach us something new or challenge us to think differently or inspire us to act better. By practicing these techniques, we can value the things within our control and be more independent and confident. Quote 4. He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man. Seneca. This quote is from Seneca, who was a Roman statesman, a playwright, and a Stoic philosopher. He wrote many letters, essays, and dialogues, where he discussed various topics related to Stoicism, such as ethics, politics, and psychology. This quote reminds us that we should not be afraid of death, as it is inevitable and natural, and it is not something that we can control or avoid. We should also not let death prevent us from living fully and meaningfully, and from doing what is right and good. Instead, we should accept death as a part of life, and as a motivation to make the most of our time and our potential. We should also live in accordance with our values and our purpose, and leave a positive legacy behind us. By not fearing death, we can avoid being timid, passive, or wasteful, and we can cultivate a sense of courage, action, and value. But how can we not fear death and make it a habit? Here are some tips. First, we can practice rationality and understand the nature and the reality of death, and how it is not something to be feared or avoided. We can ask ourselves, what is death, and why do I fear it? Is death something evil or harmful? Or is it just a transition or a transformation? Is death something personal or universal? Or is it just a natural and inevitable phenomenon? Second, we can practice mortality and remind ourselves of the inevitability and the uncertainty of death, and how it can happen at any moment and to anyone. We can ask ourselves, how would I live if I knew that today was my last day? How would I act if I knew that this was my last chance? How would I feel if I knew that this was my last moment? Third, we can practice legacy and think about the impact and the influence that we want to have on the world and on the people around us, and how we want to be remembered after we die. We can ask ourselves, what is the purpose and the meaning of my life? What are the values and the virtues that I want to live by? What are the goals and the achievements that I want to pursue? By practicing these techniques, we can not fear death and be more courageous and valuable. These are some of the best Stoic quotes for enlightenment and how they can help us change our lives for the better. Of course, these are not the only quotes, nor the only source of wisdom, but they are a good start and a good reminder. We hope that you enjoyed this video and that you will apply these quotes to your own life. If you want to learn more about Stoicism and how it can help you live a virtuous, rational, and serene life, we recommend that you read the books and the writings of the Stoic authors, such as Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and others. You can also watch more videos, listen to podcasts, or join online communities that are dedicated to Stoicism and its teachings. You can also practice Stoicism and make it a part of your daily routine by following the tips and the techniques that we have shared with you. By doing so, you will not only improve yourself, but also the world around you. Thank you for watching, and remember, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters.